strike at the post office has been going on for almost 3 months. It's the 5th in 3 years. This week, the Communication Workers Union says it's revised its 15% wage demand, but does anyone care? This is Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight, I'm joined by Michelle du Toit, who's the Senior Vice President of Governance and Ethics at Sasol, and Clinton Goslin, who is the founder of Atlas Auctioneers, to talk about exactly why you should care. The post office is out of order, so you're not getting your traffic fines, which is a positive. You're not getting your utilities bills, which, if you don't like paying utilities bills, is a positive. But at some point, municipalities are going to start getting heavy. The roadblocks will chuck you in chooky for the night. And you could say, I didn't receive my bill, and they're going to say, well, we don't care. So is society falling apart as a result of the post office? Sasol had an interesting scenario, didn't you? Because here you've got to communicate with shareholders. These are BEE shareholders through the Inyatelo scheme. And ordinarily, you would have posted them documents. And you couldn't do that, could you, Michelle?
Yeah, the problem became quite evident when we realized that one day the post office was actually not accepting our AGM notice for the Sasol and scheme. Now, in terms of the Companies Act, you are actually required to deliver your notices to your shareholders.
Physical paper notices. You've got a letter, say please come to the AGM.
You can also use email, fax, if you have an email or fax contact number for your shareholders. But we have about more than 2/3. The large number of our shareholders do not have access to fax.
How many shareholders are there?
For Sasol Limited, we have 150,000 beneficial shareholders. Sasol Inzalo has 215,000 beneficial shareholders. Now, the Companies Act requires that you have to get the notice to the shareholder. You cannot post it up on your website only. It has actually to go to the shareholder in a way that they can receive it and are able to either print it or read it.
Okay,
online.
So you go to the post office and say, I've got 215,000 items of mail for you at what, £5 a pop? I don't know how much it costs to send a letter nowadays.
It's just a bit little less than that, but yes, it's in that region.
Okay, £4 a letter. There's R1 million worth of revenue for you, post office, and the post office says, no, thank you very much, I'm sorry, we can't help you.
Or what they did was they accept the notices, but you hear on the radio that they are...
So they'll take the money from you?
They actually took the notices in most of the instances and provided us with acknowledgements of receipt. The problem was we became aware that, that these notices probably would just sit there, or they would go to other post offices and not reach our shareholders. Now, there is a widely held legal view that if you deliver it to the post office, you actually get an acknowledgement of receipt. That is legal posting. The problem is that this has not yet been tested in terms of the new Companies Act.
And you're not doing the right thing by your shareholders.
We were very concerned that our shareholders weren't actually going to receive the notices. Now, with Sasol Limited, it's the type of shareholders they are used to. We're doing proxy solicitation, so they know what the issues are, and they get to vote either by proxy or in person. But the Sasol Inzalo shareholder, we need to take extra effort to make sure that they get the notice, and if they don't attend, we can't go ahead with the meeting if the meeting is not correct.
And so I'm assuming you found a way around this now. You've gone another route. You've gone electronic, and by doing that, you never go back to snail mail. So
the issue is that we could not do it electronic only. We actually had to get the sanction of the court. Because the Companies Act did not allow us to do it totally electronic. So we had to approach the court on an urgent ex parte basis to ask for an order in which it authorized us to use Twitter, SMS, notice on the website, and all of those matters then as actual compliant delivery in terms of the Companies
You're
Act.
finding ways around it, which means that you never have to go back through the snail mail again. So the next time, every 6 months, or however often you have your meetings, that's another R1 million worth of revenue that doesn't go the way of the post office.
Indeed, and what will happen is that I think that we will start looking at getting amendments to the Companies Act, which in fact allows us to use those ways and not having to approach the court to get authorization for substituted service.
Clinton Goslin, you've got a similar problem in that you are an auctioneer. You auction coins and stamps.
That's correct.
You've got to deliver coins and stamps. And
naturally.
The Cullinan Diamond, I was reminded the other day, was delivered by post from Cullinan to Grahamstown to William Atherstone, to Mr. Atherstone, Dr. Atherstone, for verification. So we used to trust the post office to do that 100 years ago. You still send coins and stamps through the post, even though they're quite valuable.
Yeah, I think the big thing at the end of the day, it goes about trust and integrity. And I think now it goes on both sides, because at the end of the day, we are held liable and accountable. And I think that's become the big issue. Yeah. We actually have reduced the fact that we don't send coins anymore. We can send banknotes and stuff like that. The rest of the stuff, as soon as it's metallic objects, tends to be scanned, picked up, people tend to feel in the mail, and you can actually have losses.
No, really?
Yes.
People
really?
steal things from the post office? Oh, I'm shocked. But you've got to be working to steal the stuff. So the good news is you haven't had stuff stolen recently. The bad news is you've had a breakdown in delivery.
100%.
And I'm assuming I would do, say, a telephone bid or an online bid for a particular set of stamps if I was a philatelist or if I was a pneumaticist and I was collecting coins. I would do a telephone bid and I'd say to you, can you let me have those, please? And in a week or two, I'd expect to receive my goods. Right.
100%. And that's the whole thing with the auctioneering business. I think at the end of the day, we're the facilitator. We're the guy between the buyer and the seller. And at the end of the day, is a large part of our business goes about building confidence in a product. It's a very difficult product when you come to the sense of a postage stamp, which is a piece of paper. And you put confidence in it that the market's actually trading the product. So as soon as the market is trading a product, you attain a market-related value. And most of our auctions are based on attaining a market-related value. So we need to trade quite a bit to obviously build confidence. And confidence brings in guys who obviously buy the product at the end of the day. What we've picked up in the last couple of weeks, ironically, a lot of this started on the 18th of August already.
Which is your birthday.
Which is my birthday, that is correct.
So you remember the date?
Yes, I will not forget the date.
You know where you were when Princess Diana died, and you know where you were when the postal strike started.
100%. And this thing has become really out of hand at the end of the day because it goes about transparency and obviously at the end of the day, accountability.
Now, I say to you, right, Clint, I've spent 500 Rand on a stamp that I wanted for my collection. I've deposited the 500 Rand electronically into your bank account, but my stamp hasn't arrived. I want a refund, please, because I don't know that you put it in the post. I don't care if the postal service is not functioning. I want my stamp or I want my money back. And that's happening.
100%. And the problem with this scenario is at the end of the day, we've cut out our international buyers. So our international buyers, it is relatively cheap for them to buy in South Africa. Obviously, you're looking at currencies, whether it be pounds or euros or dollars. That whole section of our business is actually our eBay section. The whole thing about eBay, it works on rating. We were sitting with a 100% success rate. They haven't.
What does the rating measure?
The rating measures at the end of the day is, are you reliable? Are the goods according to condition, according to obviously description? And has the client received the product in the time given for the letter to obviously arrive, whether it be South Africa to America or wherever it goes in the world?
So I'm a collector of stamps and I'm sitting in Nova Scotia. I don't know you from Adam, but I trust the eBay rating.
And I've got a rating.
Which sits at 100, which is great. Suddenly your rating goes to what?
Well, we're worried about that because at the end of the day is we are apologizing on behalf of the post office. So how the PayPal and the eBay situation actually works at the end of the day, the client doesn't receive his product. He gives the time period, obviously, that it should arrive. It doesn't arrive. He's got a short window or small window, really, to put in a claim. So he has to say, I bought a product from Atlas Auctioneers. It hasn't arrived. The value of the product is $100. He puts in a claim. If he doesn't put in the claim, then obviously that's... he won't be able to get a refund on his money. But now what's actually happening, now cases get opened. And we've had 7. A friend of mine has got 65. Now 65 cases at the end of the day, all of a sudden they're going to look at this and they say, you know what, you're running at 100%. Your items aren't getting received by clients.
You are no longer reliable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now at the end of the day, we're getting painted with the same brush. And all of a sudden that whole integrity, honesty, all falls by the side.
Okay, so the private sector solution is you courier.
Locally, we have an international problem because the value of products, and even if you go and look at eBay, most of the items are traded between, let's say, $10 and $100. At the end of the day, if you have to look at courier like DHL or one of the other systems, you're looking at 300 to 400 Rand to post that item.
Bang goes any margin you might have made.
Obviously local, it was 52 Rand to register A5 envelope. Everyone was happy. It's got tracking and you can track the item and you know that it's going to arrive. It's in the system.
Does this cause you to fundamentally change the way you operate your business into the future? Post office comes back on stream. Do you go back on trust and hope that it doesn't happen again in the next 6 months? Or do you fundamentally change the way you run your business?
I've had to obviously look at that. I think a big part of our auctioneering business is we do 2 live auctions a month, one in Kyalami and one in the East Rand area. Now we're actually saying, should we just drop it to 1 auction in Kyalami? Should we accommodate only room bidders and not guys bidding obviously through the email, online, or international buyers? The big problem that you got there is we got a large volume of material in this country that needs to be moved. And we're also sitting in a situation we actually need the foreign clients to come in and remove the surplus out of our market to obviously create demand and get turnover.
The knock-on impact is absolutely huge. When we look at it from a Sasol perspective, Michelle du Toit, I mean, you've got to be as a large corporate with big money to spend in terms of distribution of material across the entire business, not just within Zalo, but with shareholders' meetings, with minutes, with all sorts of notices that have to be legally delivered. You will find alternatives, and you suggested earlier you will lobby for the Companies Act to be altered to make different delivery mechanisms more acceptable. Is this the beginning of the end then for the relationship between Sasol and the Post Office?
One will have to see. I have no way of telling. There are still a lot of people who rely on the Post Office and who might not be, it might not be possible to have documents, receive documents in any other way.
Why doesn't one of you, could you one of you, because I'm too busy, I'm so important. I just was at the airport the other day and saw a Post Office advert, a billboard, flashed up on one of those electronic screens. We deliver, whatever it takes. You should take them to the Advertising Standards Authority because they're not delivering. And there's a fun line. Maybe one of you could do it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to pass the buck here or anything, but it would be really good if somebody would take them to the Advertising Standards Authority. But then who would deliver the notice to the Post Office to tell them that they've been reported to the Advertising Standards Authority? I mean, we can make light of it, but this is deadly serious, Michelle. I mean, this is a fundamental failing in the communications network of South Africa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you move on from here then, Clint?
It's very important things. I mean, we look at all of this, and I mean, the fact is, if you sit in Africa, you really want to see progress. You don't want to wake up one morning and your power's off. You don't want to drive out of your driveway and fall in a hole. And secondly, you want to know that your communication's working. If your post office is really the ambassador of your country. I mean, even the law in the post office is when we send out an international item, we put our stamps on there. Yeah. We are proud. We are proud when we send our letters internationally because that is just the ambassador part of the post office. And at the end of the day is we've really done a lot to get to this point of saying, you know, have confidence in us, have confidence in our product, have confidence in our people. We can deliver.
Whatever it takes.
Yes.
There we go. At that point, we will leave it. Michelle du Toit, Senior Vice President of Governance and Ethics at Sasol. Clinton Goslin, the quite desperate founder of Atlas Auctioneers and quite furious founder of Atlas Auctioneers. It didn't help, of course, that Business Day recently got access to a draft copy of the annual report from the South African Post Office, in which it was revealed that the 20 most senior managers at the Post Office had awarded themselves 26% increases over the last 12 months. At the same time, bemoaning the fact that the workers were demanding an unpalatable 15%. So there's lots of ammunition, there's lots of fighting, there's lots of water to go under this particular bridge. But thank you for watching. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. Your check is, of course, it's in the mail. Good night, goodbye.